The South China Sea is both a vital trade route, carrying trillions of dollars worth of goods each year, and a lifeline for global commerce. Every day, thousands of ships pass through these waters, connecting Asia to the rest of the world. But beneath the surface, it's a geopolitical powder keg, where military might and national ambitions collide. At its center is Second Thomas Shoal, a barely visible reef that's become a flashpoint between China and the Philippines, symbolizing the broader struggle for control in these contested waters. Here, every supply run to a stranded Filipino outpost is a test of national resolve, as sailors and Marines risk confrontation with Chinese vessels to deliver food, water, and hope. China asserts sweeping claims, enforcing them with Coast Guard and militia ships that shadow, block, and sometimes intimidate their rivals. The Philippines, backed by a U.S. alliance and international support, refuses to back down, determined to defend its sovereignty. Recent confrontations have escalated, with Chinese vessels using water cannons and blockades, turning routine resupply missions into high-stakes standoffs. For Filipino Marines on a rusting warship, it's a daily siege. Life on the edge, surrounded by uncertainty and tension. For the world, it's a challenge to freedom of navigation and international law, raising questions about the rules that govern the seas. This standoff is about more than rocks and reefs. It's about the future of maritime order in Asia and the precedent it sets for global security. We'll break down the latest clash, the legal battles playing out in international courts, and the human cost borne by those on the front lines and their families. Understanding Second Thomas Shoal means understanding the shifting balance of power in the Indo-Pacific, where alliances are tested and new strategies are forged. The ripples from this remote reef are felt in capitals worldwide, influencing diplomatic decisions and shaping the future of international relations. The stakes could not be higher, as the world watches to see who will shape the destiny of these contested waters. November 21st, 2025, a date that would soon be etched into the ongoing saga of the South China Sea. On this day, tensions that had been simmering for months reached a dramatic new peak. Early that morning, two Philippine supply boats, under the vigilant escort of a Coast Guard ship, set out on a high-stakes mission towards Second Thomas Shoal, a remote outpost at the heart of a heated territorial dispute. Their objective was clear: deliver essential food, water, and other life-sustaining supplies to the Marines, stationed aboard the aging BRP Sierra Madre, a grounded ship that serves as a symbol of Philippine presence in these contested waters. But as the convoy neared the shoal, a formidable fleet of Chinese Coast Guard and maritime militia vessels appeared on the horizon, moving swiftly to intercept and block the Philippine boats from reaching their destination. The Chinese ships, much larger and more heavily armed, began executing aggressive maneuvers, cutting off the smaller Philippine boats, creating dangerous close encounters, and escalating the already tense standoff. Suddenly, powerful water cannons erupted from the Chinese vessels, blasting the supply boats with high-pressure streams. Equipment was damaged, and the lives of the Filipino crew were put at serious risk as chaos unfolded on the open sea. Despite the overwhelming danger and relentless pressure, one of the Philippine boats managed to break through the blockade, successfully delivering its precious cargo to the Marines. The other, battered and unable to proceed, was forced to turn back. The entire confrontation was captured on video by the Philippine Coast Guard and quickly released to the world. Within hours, the footage was broadcast globally, transforming what might have been a regional incident into a headline-grabbing international crisis. This was not the first time such a confrontation had occurred at Second Thomas Shoal, but it was by far the most intense and dangerous yet, highlighting both China's growing resolve and the Philippines' unwavering determination to defend its claims. And with every new mission, the risk of a miscalculation grows. Each encounter now carries the potential to spark a wider conflict, drawing in not just the two nations involved, but possibly the entire region. The world is watching closely. Every move, every maneuver, and every decision is scrutinized by international observers, governments, and ordinary people alike, all aware that the stakes are higher than ever. At the heart of this standoff are questions of sovereignty, international law, and the fragile peace of the South China Sea, a region vital to global trade and security. The world now waits and wonders, how far will each side go, and what will it take to prevent the next confrontation from spiraling out of control? The BRP Sierra Madre is no ordinary ship. It's a grounded WW2-era vessel, intentionally beached by the Philippines in 1999. Its purpose, to serve as a permanent outpost and a symbol of Philippine sovereignty at Second Thomas Shoal. Life aboard is harsh. Marines endure isolation, rust, and constant threat. China calls the ship an illegal occupation and demands its removal. Beijing blocks repairs and supplies, hoping the ship will collapse and the Philippines will abandon the outpost. For Manila, maintaining the Sierra Madre is a matter of national pride and legal right. Every resupply is a high-stakes game of cat and mouse. The ship's fate is the heart of the standoff. It's a decaying fortress but also a powerful statement: the Philippines will not yield. The struggle over this rusting hulk is a battle of wills. The world watches to see which will prevail: attrition or defiance. Second Thomas Shoal is a submerged atoll, uninhabitable, but strategically priceless. It sits well within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, as defined by international law. For Manila, it's a frontline outpost and a marker of sovereign rights. Losing it would open the door to deeper Chinese encroachment. For China, the shoal falls within its sweeping 9-line claim. Control here would let Beijing expand its military footprint and project power across the South China Sea. The area is rich in fish, and potentially oil and gas, resources vital to both nations. For Filipino fishermen, these waters are a lifeline. For China, they're a strategic asset. The fight is about sovereignty, security, and economic survival. This tiny reef is a pivot point for the region's future. Its fate will shape the balance of power in Asia. China insists its actions at Second Thomas Shoal are justified by indisputable sovereignty over the Spratlys. Beijing's claim is rooted in historical rights, not modern international law. The 9-line, drawn on Chinese maps since the 1940s, covers most of the South China Sea. China accuses the Philippines of illegal occupation and claims its Coast Guard acts with restraint and legality. Beijing frames Manila as the provocateur, allegedly backed by the US to contain China's rise. Every encounter is seen as a proxy battle in a larger US-China rivalry. China repeatedly cites a supposed Philippine promise to remove the Sierra Madre, something Manila denies. By controlling the narrative, Beijing casts itself as patient and aggrieved, forced to defend its rights. The standoff is as much about perception as territory. China's message: it will not back down. The Philippines' response is rooted in international law, specifically the 2016 Arbitral Tribunal ruling. The court invalidated China's 9-line and affirmed the shoal is within the Philippine EEZ. Manila calls China's actions illegal and dangerous, filing diplomatic protests and publicizing incidents worldwide. President Marcos Jr. vows not to yield a single square inch of territory. The Philippines leans on its mutual defense treaty with the US and builds alliances with Japan, Australia, and Europe. Resupply missions continue, framed as humanitarian and legal. Manila's message: we will not abandon our Marines or our rights. Every mission is a statement of resolve. The world is urged to support a rules-based order. The Philippines stands firm, despite overwhelming odds. Lost in the headlines are the Filipino fishermen whose lives and livelihoods depend on these contested waters, a reality often overshadowed by political debates and international headlines. For generations, the South China Sea has been the lifeblood of coastal communities, providing food, income, and a way of life passed down from father to son. Now, with Chinese patrols and blockades growing more frequent, fishing has become not just difficult, but dangerous, sometimes even impossible for local fishermen. Fishermen report constant harassment, confiscated catches, and shrinking incomes as their traditional fishing grounds are patrolled and sometimes seized. The sea that once sustained entire villages is now a source of anxiety and fear, with families left waiting and worrying for their loved ones' safe return. Second Thomas Shoal, once a haven for Filipino boats, is now off-limits, surrounded by Chinese ships, its waters patrolled day and night. Government aid offers temporary relief, but it cannot replace the freedom to fish. The real issue is about access, rights, and the ability to provide for one's family. The fisherman's plight gives a human face to what is often seen as a distant legal and diplomatic struggle, reminding us that real people are caught in the crossfire. Their empty nets and mounting debts are the true cost of the standoff. pushing many families to the brink and threatening the survival of entire communities. Defending sovereignty here means defending the livelihoods and dignity of thousands who call these waters home. The fishermen's stories are a moral anchor for Manila's case, reminding the world that this is not just a legal battle, but a fight for justice and survival. The world must remember, this is not just a dispute over maps or maritime boundaries, but over people's futures, dreams, and the next generation's hope. The stakes are measured in lives, not just lines on a chart. Every day, these fishermen risk everything for the chance to provide, making their struggle one that deserves the world's attention. In 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration delivered a landmark ruling. The tribunal declared China's 9-dash line invalid and affirmed the Philippines' rights at Second Thomas Shoal. The court found the shoal is a low-tide elevation within the Philippine EEZ. China's blockade is illegal. This ruling transformed the dispute from history to law. China rejected the decision, calling it waste paper, and refused to comply. Instead, Beijing ramped up its activities, building islands, increasing patrols and tightening its grip. The ruling exposed a flaw international law has no enforcement teeth. China's defiance puts the rules-based order on trial. If powerful nations ignore legal rulings, what hope is there for peaceful dispute resolution? Second Thomas Shoal is now a test case for global governance. The world is watching to see if law or might will prevail. Second Thomas Shoal is more than a local dispute. It's a global fault line. The outcome will shape the Indo-Pacific's future and the rules that govern the seas. For Southeast Asia, the stakes are existential. Will small nations be forced to yield to great powers? If China prevails, its gray zone tactics could become the new normal. The US and allies see this as a test of credibility and commitment to a free, open Indo-Pacific. Instability here threatens global trade and security. Every resupply mission risks escalation. A single misstep could trigger catastrophe. The grounded Sierra Madre is a lonely sentinel, guarding not just a reef, but the idea of a rules-based order. The fate of this ship may decide the future of maritime law in the 21st century. The world holds its breath, waiting to see what happens next.